Hey there, this is Sara Oehler with Softflex Company, and today I'm going to show you how to make a really fun pair of earrings. And these earrings are based on the 2016 Rio Olympics. I'm American, so I chose a red, white, and blue theme for my earrings, but by all means, you could do any colors for any flag, or you could just do a solid color too if you wanted to keep it a little bit more elegant. Just choosing a clear crystal or all red beads or a blue bead. By all means, you could make this project your own. I am using our 24 karat extreme beading wire in our 0.024 diameter. The 24 karat wire is actually a copper alloy base. It's a 19 by 1 strand construction. Those little strands of copper alloy are plated in a true 24 karat gold, drawn down to make sure that the gold is evenly placed throughout the plating. And then it has a clear nylon coating, which then exposes that beautiful gold color. And it is just gorgeous. But by all means, you could also do some of the other metallic colors. For instance, you could do a silver. You could do a bronze. We also have a brass, a copper, and a champagne. It would look beautiful in any of those colors, but since I'm a little fixated on the Olympic Games, I think I'm going to go for the gold today. So what I have here is 9 inches of that 24 karat extreme beading wire, and I went ahead and cut that free already. I'm going to separate the 3 pieces of wire so that I can clip a bead stopper onto them about 2 inches from the top. And you'll see I put each wire in its own part of the bead stopper. If you've never seen the bead stoppers, they are so handy. You just push on these 2 ends and it pops open a spring, and that spring can hold on to the wire so it doesn't slip or slide around. But it's just such a handy tool to have around. I'm going to just slide this up just a little bit. I'm going to make sure I've got about 2 inches. I'm going to use the mini macrame board today to do my braiding. I think it'll just make things a little bit easier. So I'm going to go ahead and slide the wires inside of here, and I'll go ahead and move this out of the way. Maybe leave a couple here just for you guys to see the labels. But I slid the very top of the wire, the bead stopper on top. All I'm doing today is a real simple braid, so I don't have to get too complicated here. It's just like braiding hair. I'm taking the right over the left over the right over left, left over right. And I'm just going to braid these 3 wires down to the 4-inch mark on my macrame board. Now the tricky part about braiding the wire is that it wants to unravel. So I'm going to do everything I can to keep it braided for as long as possible before I finish the design. So I'm down to about the 4-inch mark now. I'm just going to slip this other bead stopper down here on the end of this wire. And like I said, that'll kind of help keep those wires together and make sure that it doesn't unbraid real quickly. I'll just pop this right off my macrame board and move that aside. So now I've got my braid and I've got these 2 kind of lengths of wire on either side. I'm going to go ahead and pick just one wire. I'm going to string a 3 by 3 millimeter crimp tube. This is a very large crimp tube. It'll fit multiple strands of wire, so it's perfect for this design here. I'm going to do my red, white, which is a clear crystal. It's not technically white, but you get the idea. And blue onto my 1 strand of wire. These guys are going to end up getting trimmed, so don't worry too much about them. On the other side, and if you want, you can actually use a 3rd bead stopper here to hold the beads in place. On the other side, I'm going to again pick just 1 wire, and I'm going to string a crimp tube on, oh actually, I take that back. I want to string the crimp tube on all 3 wires and then string the beads on just 1 wire. So, like that. And you know, I'm going to actually leave this in because beading is not perfect. I make mistakes all the time, and you just go back and fix them and keep on going. I know a few people that call themselves angry beaders. One of my coworkers used to call herself that. I think she's gotten over that though. But it's okay to make mistakes and just keep on moving forward. Okay, so what I did was I strung the crimp tube on all 3 wires, then I strung the 3 beads on 1 wire, and now I'll go ahead and put the bead stopper on the end of that wire. Okay, and then on this side I'm going to string again the crimp tube on all 3 wires. And one of the things I like to say to students when I'm teaching is I take yoga. And in yoga, they teach you to stay on your own yoga mat. And what that means to me is do not judge yourself based on other people. You know, just come to the mat with where you're at that day. Do the very best that you can with your body. And I look at beading the same way. Come to your beading mat each day and do it, you know, to the best of your ability. And if you make a mistake or you're not good at something that day, it's okay. You can always try again the next day. But don't be hard on yourself. There's no reason to be really hard on yourself. And I've seen it in beading classes through the years, lots of people be really very hard on themselves. Okay, so I'm going to string this wire, just 1 wire from the other side, back through the beads, and pull that kind of tight. Now the trick is this 1 wire has to go back through the crimp tube on both sides. I'm going to pull that tight, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other. The wire coming out of the beads also has to go back through the crimp tube. That's what's going to secure all of this together. And that's what I was thinking at that beginning stage before. Okay, and now I'm just going to kind of pull this tight. And now what I'm going to do is let go of my bead stoppers on either side. And I'm just going to gently tug on both ends until I get this to about the same shape as the other one. Again, things are never perfect. Even our ears are different on both sides. So you just do the very best you can. I think that's pretty darn good. It looks like I'm going to have to actually tug it and kind of hold on to it to crimp it. Okay, so I've got my wires just where I want them. I'm going to use these mighty crimping pliers, and there's 2 holes in them. The back hole has a little tooth, the front hole is a rounder. I'm going to use the tooth first to just gently compress a divot into my crimp tube. And then I'm going to flip it onto its side into the rounder and compress again. And I'll actually go around it a few times, tightening it down and making sure it's all cinched down into the nylon coating. Once I've done that, I can go to the other side and do the same thing. I'm going to use that back crimper first and then flip it to the front and use the rounder. And I'll use that rounder several times to just tighten it all down. I'm using the mighty crimping pliers because we're using those 3x3 crimps, which are actually quite large. And once I feel pretty good about that, I can actually go through and snip all of my wires. So using the flush side of my cutters, the flat side, I'm going to get in as close as I can to those crimp tubes, and I'm just going to snip those wires. Snip. Snip one more time. Okay, so now I've got my earring form, and all I have to do is add my crimp covers which are these little guys here. Basically, they're little open-faced beads. I'm going to slide it over the top of my crimp tube. And I'm going to use my chain nose pliers to close down those two ends on top of the crimp tube. Some people like to use their Mighty crimping pliers. They use the rounder to do this. I prefer my chain nose pliers. They work a little bit better for me, but whatever works for you, you should definitely do. So I'm going to close this down on top of this crimp. And this is a 4mm crimp cover to work with the 3x3mm crimp tube. If I was using the smaller crimp tubes, a 2x2 crimp tube, I would use a 3mm crimp cover. So you're always going about 1mm bigger than your crimp size. And now I have those closed down, so I did the gold-filled crimp covers to match my 24 karat gold wire, and then I have a gold-filled ear wire here. I'm just going to slip that on. You could definitely use whatever ear wire you want. And there you have it, some cute little patriotic Olympic earrings. And again, you can make these your own by using different colors of beading wire. You can use the colors of your flag in beading wire. I could do a red, white, and blue beading wire braid. You can change out the beads and make those unique. You can make them smaller or bigger depending on the size that you prefer. I kind of liked these big because I like bigger earrings in the summer. But it's just a fun, easy way to be patriotic and cheer for your favorite team this year at the 2016 Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. We try to add a new video every week, and that'll give you a nice notification when something new is added. And if you'd like to learn more about our products or about us as a company, you can find us at www.softflexcompany.com.